Fani got Willis'd by her own Wade, the special prosecutor in Georgia. This is a motion that was filed by Michael A. Roman, this guy, former Trump special assistant who's been charged by Fani Willis in Georgia as part of her RICO case. And so we've been following this case. We know that Sidney Powell took a plea, Jenna Ellis took a plea, all for diversion deals, so there will not be any convictions associated with those when their charges are dismissed. But Mike Roman not taking a plea deal. In fact, he's coming out swinging hot, and he's filing a motion to dismiss all of Fani's cases because of this impropriety, which involves her, Fani Willis, and Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor that she went out and appointed. We've had a lot of questions about Nathan Wade for some time because his office was sending notices to people that Fani had charged saying, I can represent you as a defense lawyer, because his office is a defense firm. So he was sending people that he was prosecuting notices saying, I can also defend you. And so there was a big hubbub about this in the courts. They said, this is ridiculous. Why are you harassing our defense clients and so on? And the judge just said, well, it's kind of, no harm, no foul type of situation. So we've been asking about this because he's been billing big numbers to her, and she's got an entire office. Hello, she's the DA of Fulton County. She's got 100 other prosecutors that she could assign to this, but she went and got this guy, who we learned was her mentor, much more than that as we'll see. And they were sitting there in court. Look at these two. Oh, just cozy as can be behind the government table. Yeah, just prosecuting all their political opponents. Got it. So we're going to go through the motion and then ask ourselves, did Nathan Wade commit a felony? Was Fani Willis conspiring with him to commit a felony? Should she be charged with a RICO of her own? We'll go through all of it all. And then Mike Roman, of course, could use your help if you've got some extra funds. He is raising funds for his defense, and we know that he'll need it. So we go right to the motion, and it is juicy. Filed by Michael A. Roman, state of Georgia, Fulton County, Big Fani's jurisdiction. He says the following. Now, defendant Michael Roman is here moving to dismiss this entire case, calling it fatally defective, and saying he's got a motion to disqualify Fani, her office, and Nathan Wade from any further involvement in this manner. Whew. Now comes Michael Roman, they say, and he's here under the Constitution saying that Georgia has done a bunch of bad things here and hereby moves this court for an order striking the special purpose grand jury that Fani orchestrated and dismiss the criminal indictment in its entirety. Why? Mr. Roman grounds that this entire prosecution brought by Fani is invalid and unconstitutional because Fani never had legal authority to appoint Nathan Wade, who assisted in obtaining the indictments. Now, as a result, both indictments contain structural errors, irreparable defects, and should be gone. We also move this court for an order disqualifying Fani, her office, and Nathan from any further prosecution because why? Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have been engaged in an improper, clandestine, personal relationship. They were indicting each other, it sounds like, during the pendency of this case, which has resulted in the special prosecutor and in turn Fani profiting significantly from the Trump prosecution at the expense of the taxpayers. Oof. Now, accordingly, the DA and Nathan, Fani, have violated laws about the use of public money. They've got irreparable conflicts of interest, and they have violated their oaths of office, and therefore they should be disqualified from this case. Now, here is where they start. The instant motion is not filed lightly, Judge McAfee, nor is it being filed without considerable forethought, research, or investigation. Nonetheless, this motion must be heard, as the issues raised herein strike at the heart of fairness in our justice system, and if left unaddressed and unchecked, they threaten to taint the entire prosecution, to invite error, and to completely undermine public confidence in the eventual outcome of this proceeding. Saying there are fewer positions of authority in Georgia's justice system more powerful than elected district attorney, and we make this point here repeatedly. This is why we call her Big Fani Willis, because she is the biggest DA in Fulton County, which is a huge county, the biggest one in Georgia, making her the biggest DA. That's why we call her Big Fani. The district attorney has incredible control and influence over the entire process, including the power to decide who and when to charge and how to charge them, what cases will get tried, which cases will be resolved, and importantly, Fani has the power to allocate public monies for the operation of the office. Now, historically, there have been few checks on this power in Georgia, and DAs have largely been able to have broad discretion when making their decisions. But this case with Fani and Wade presents a unique opportunity for this court to review this authority to determine whether Fani overstepped her authority, whether the special prosecutor Wade violated the law and their obligations together under the rules of professional conduct when they indicted each other in a personal, romantic relationship, which has ultimately yielded substantial income to Wade. He's getting paid too. Who is this guy? The important issues raised in the instant motion suggest that the elected district attorney for the largest DA's office in the state of Georgia confirmed in court filings the biggest case Fani, has used the instant prosecution to pay her partner a large sum of money that was originally allotted to clear the backlog of cases for COVID. Now, normally, the DA's use of funds allotted pursuant to the county's prior approval would not be newsworthy or legally actionable, right? She can move her money around. That's why she got elected. It's a nice gig if you can get it. But this case is different. Fani sought additional funds from Fulton County to clear out the COVID cases, and she made a detailed presentation to the board. She actually got the money. She's like, I need help or more money. But she has not used those funds for that purpose at all. No. In fact, she used those funds to prosecute this case. Now, even assuming that were proper and could be forgiven, she just reallocated some stuff. This is more important. I have the discretion to decide, okay, there is a separate and very important concern about her using this money. And as the layers unfold, it becomes clear that Big Fani and Nathan Wade, they've been prosecuting personally from this prosecution at Fulton County's expense. Now, instead of handling this case within her office, as she could have done using the COVID money within her office, right? She could have prosecuted this here. She chose to hire a special prosecutor who's a private attorney to reign over the case. And we were like, who is this dude? Now, once again, on its face, this is not earth-shattering, generally within her discretion, but there's several important facts that distinguish this case. Now, before they appointed Nathan Wade, they were required to get Fulton County's approval prior to bringing this guy in, because she's already got a bunch of prosecutors. So why do you need to go find someone else? Now, the reason for this is simple. It ensures the DA, like Fani, cannot unilaterally act with regard to public monies and control where the money goes. The public needs to have confidence. Now, undersigned counsel, the lawyer, says, I have found no evidence that the DA sought or ever received any approval to appoint a special prosecutor in Fulton. She just did it. Now, this is not a mere technicality. It's a requirement that the Georgia Supreme Court has said must be followed when we get a special prosecutor, and therefore it is a requirement in this case. Now, since the DA, Fani, was fully capable of getting this permission, then it is clear she knows how to do that because she went and did it to get the COVID money. So she's done this before. So that begs the question, why did Fani not do so to go get Nathan Wade? Now, one could assume it was oversight, but digging deeper, the potential reason becomes obvious. As has been pointed out in prior filings, the special prosecutor's oath of office was never filed. Nathan never submitted it. Now, that might have been an oversight. It may also have been purposeful, a specific attempt to shield from public knowledge the fact that Nathan Wade had, in fact, been appointed without legal authority. That's incredible. Also, Jack Smith is illegitimate, according to a former AG. They are bringing in people outside of the normal justice program, and as we can see, they're corrupt as can be. Now, perhaps more important and enlightening, however, is the identity and qualifications of the specific person that she chose to lead this, saying that Fani chose to appoint her romantic partner, who at all times relevant to this prosecution has been a married man. Woo! Not good. Not good at all. Now, of course, these are all allegations. Fani's going to have an opportunity to respond, and so is Nathan Wade. Now, we'll see if they have an explanation for this, but right now it sounds like they were motioning on each other, you know what I mean? So admittedly, this is a bold allegation. Yeah, you better believe that. Considering it is directed to one of the most powerful people in the state of Georgia, Fulton County DA, but nevertheless, the DA's fame and power, they do not change the fact that she decided to appoint a special prosecutor with whom she had a personal relationship, who's now leading the prosecution. No one's above the law, especially the conflict of interest laws. Now, even assuming this type of nepotism might be forgiven, because we're like, oh, whatever. They love each other, Rob. You can't fight love. A review of the amount of money that Nathan Wade has been paid and the personal activities of the DA and Nathan Wade during this shed light on just how self-serving this arrangement has really been. So the court may well be wondering, this is great, now for good reason, Madam Ashley, the lawyer who's filing this, how do you know this? And why does it matter? Okay, a lot of people, well, so what if they're in love, Rob? Open records request of Fulton County on the answer of how we know this revealed that DA Fani did not obtain county approval. No records showing she did. Why would she not do this prior to appointing Wade? Wade admitted his oath was not filed prior to his work. How come? Why would the special prosecutor not just file the oath? You know, he's got an office. They can just file simple administrative tasks any day, right? The special prosecutor is also, this is Wade, seeking a divorce in Cobb County, and he sought to successfully seal those records, hiding them from public view. Now, why would a private citizen like the special prosecutor shield his filings related to his income and his spending from public view? Interesting. Now, while the filings in the divorce case are sealed, and the legality of the sealing of that, which is open to question, and I'm not a family law lawyer and really detest that practice of law, and hats off to the family law practitioners out there. You guys, I don't know how you do it, but I don't know if this is a common thing, sealing these records or not, if this is a common thing in Georgia, whether they did it lawfully or legally. This attorney says no, we're questioning the legality of it. Now, information obtained outside of court filings indicate that the DA and the special prosecutor have traveled personally together. These must be legal trips for legal research. We have to consult our books. Where'd they go? Napa Valley. Florida. They went to the Caribbean, and the special prosecutor, that's Nathan Wade, he purchased tickets for both of them to go on the Norwegian and the Royal Caribbean cruise lines. Oh, that sounds beautiful. I wonder if they saw the Northern Lights up in Norway. How pretty. Hey, baby, this is so beautiful. Now, traveling together like Washington, D.C. or New York, that might make sense because they're going to work on litigation. But why are they going to the Royal Caribbean and to these usual traditional vacation destinations? Now, the DA, Fani, and Nathan Wade, they've also, been seen together in private in and about the Atlanta area. And I wonder if they've got someone snapping photos of them, like a private investigator or something. I would not put it past these attorneys. In other words, they know that Fani's going to issue a reply and say, this is our right? And then they're going to say, no, here's the second order, right? We've got another litany of stuff that we'll drop on you. So they also believe to have cohabitated in some form or fashion at a location owned by neither of them. Seedy motels that nobody can keep track of. Very curious. Now, sources close to both Nathan and Fani, they've confirmed they've got an ongoing personal relationship during the pendency of Wade's divorce proceedings. Now, according to these sources, the personal relationship between Fani and Nathan began before this prosecution was initiated and before the DA appointed the special prosecutor. So they were indicting each other, and then she's like, man, you're a really good indicter. You want to indict someone else? So undersigned counsel knows that the special prosecutor knows Nathan Wade because she's also a defense attorney, just like he is, and has researched his litigation experience. Who is this guy? That research reveals that Nathan Wade has never tried a felony RICO case. Never, not once. Yeah, because he's a defense lawyer. The state of Georgia and the city of Atlanta have several lawyers who specialize in these cases. Now, despite having access to these resources, why would the DA appoint someone who's never even tried a RICO case, as is evident by this? And by the way, we were way out ahead on calling this case garbage as soon as we saw all of the plea deals that came through, which lead to no criminal convictions for anybody. So Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, Kenneth Chesebro, Scott Hall, yes, they took guilty pleas, but they were held in abeyance and their charges are going to be dismissed. And we were wondering, this is crazy. This was supposed to be the worst crime against America since the Civil War, all this stuff, right? They have no case. These people are incompetent to boot. Not only is the case bad, they're incompetent and corrupt. Never even dealt with this before. It's a complicated thing. Saying Nathan Wade, based on his lack of experience in this type of felony, would not be qualified under Fulton County's standards. If the special prosecutor was not qualified to defend this case, then how can he be qualified to prosecute it, right? And so if you're a public defender, there are different standards. You got to have certain experience. Like if you're a first-year public defender, they don't say, here's a murder trial, right? You have to second chair a murder trial with somebody who's already done one, and then you get a certain amount of, credentials essentially before they appoint you. So here, if he never would have even been qualified to defend this case, how can he prosecute it? And since being appointed the special prosecutor, he's been billing, and a lot, $1 million in legal fees. That's good money. Now, of course, additional fees would be expected, but that would assume they're not in a relationship with the DA. And the fees have been very lucrative by comparison. The DA's yearly salary from Fani, including state and county supplements, is just under $200,000. The total annual budget for the DA's office was $31 million. And so the DA got additional money that she lobbied for. So why didn't she use that money to hire in-house staff to try the case? Why did she give it over to Nathan Wade? The reason this is important, she says, is because the DA, Fani, her failure to get approval to appoint this makes all of these indictments means that Nathan Wade is not qualified. He doesn't have the power to actually do what he did. And so that everything that he got is now a nullity and it has no effect under Georgia law. And so everything must be dismissed. Now, in light of the DA's personal relationship to the special prosecutor, his appointment created an irreparable conflict of interest that violates the rules of professional conduct. And that requires both lawyers got to get off the case. Saying the DA, Fani, her apparent intentional failure to disclose her conflict of interest combined with her own decision to actually hire this dude based on her own personal interest, may be an act to defraud the public. Like, it's a crime. Why? Because she personally benefited from the disclosed conflict of interest. She was going to Norway, man. She was roaming around the Caribbean, which is a crime under the U.S. Code 18 Section 1346. It's a predicate act that could also be a RICO charge against Fani. Woo! Who was involved in this? Who else was colluding with this? We want to know. Now, putting aside both the legal and ethical implications of their conduct, it also undermines the sanctity of the justice system. It erodes the public trust, and it would place them above the law. We know no one's above the law. So to allow this conduct to go unchecked by a powerful elected official threatens to undermine the very principles of democracy that she claims to defend in this prosecution itself. It seems hard to believe that such a powerful person like Fani could escape scrutiny and accountability for such egregious conduct simply because she believes that she maintains the moral high ground and holds one of the most powerful positions in Georgia. Now, this is particularly true since she has used that platform and megaphone it provides to tour the country, giving interviews in her pursuit of a conviction. She's like a public figure now, right? Like mascot for prosecuting Trump. Now, it is for these reasons and other important reasons that we're filing these motions. The actions of Fani and Wade are indefensible under our laws and have created a fatal and irreparable defect against our client, Mr. Roman. To allow either of them to stand above the law would be inviting others to do it. And so this case must be dismissed immediately. And these two must be recused and disqualified from further activities. Now, here's the factual background as we zoom in. Saying, upon information and belief and based on discussion with individuals with knowledge, Willis and Wade, the lovebirds, were romantically involved prior to Willis giving him the deal. She's like, well, I got to give this to somebody. How about I just funnel $1 million to you, baby? It's not entirely clear when the relationship began, but Wade was married. Maybe this is the cause of the divorce. I don't know. Now, on November 2nd, a day after his first contract with Willis, Wade filed for divorce. Wow, that's shady, isn't it? So she's like, look, here's the deal. I'll give you this big fat contract. It's gonna be like $1 million. Wade says, that's really lucrative. My wife is terrible. She sucks. So he's like, okay, you're out of here. Old and busted, new and hot. He's like, Willis has got my back, baby. She's my sugar mama. She's gonna be funding the rest of my life through this illegal contract. Wade then had the divorce proceedings sealed in February. Now, while the filings in the divorce case are sealed by court order, undersigned counsel has learned that Willis and Wade, and you want to see what's inside. Like, what did she say the reason for the divorce was? Or what did he say? What was the response? They traveled personally together to Napa Valley, to California, to Florida, to the Caribbean, and Nathan Wade, he purchased tickets for both of them to travel on the Norwegian and the Royal Caribbean cruise lines. Now, Wade has also purchased hotel rooms for personal trips, look at this, with funds from the same account that he got his money from Fani. So Fani, he sends Fani a bill. He's like, hey, baby, you want to go on a cruise? She's like, yeah. He's like, but I can't afford it. He's like, well, hold on a second. Let me send you a bill for all the legal work that I did. Sends her a bill. Her people approve it. He gets a few $1,000s right into the same account. He goes into that same account, dips into that, and then buys cruises and hotels. Amazing. Now, the order out of the divorce was signed as a consent order, sealing the record, but the required hearing was not held prior to the order being entered. They just did it. So therefore, the order is void and it should be unsealed. However, without knowing the record had been sealed and prior to the court clerk actually sealing the record, this lawyer was able to view this record and to obtain copies of certain documents that had been filed upon review of the file at the clerk's office. Now that the record is sealed, undersigned counsel is seeking to have those records also unsealed and will not discuss the contents of the sealed records in this public pleading until either the records are unsealed or this court conducts another proceeding under seal so that this lawyer can share said proceedings and information under seal. Whoa! So this attorney has the goods, okay? So she went, viewed a bunch of stuff, but it is sealed now, and she is just doing the responsible thing. You know, this feels like it's like a lot of airing out of the dirty laundry, but this lawyer is being actually reserved. Like, look, I saw a bunch of stuff. It's not public. It's probably, pretty juicy. Essentially, I'm just sharing with you what I have to share with you to get you to do something about this. And the rest of it, they're holding in reserve. So in addition, DA Fani and Wade, they have been seen in private together in a personal relationship capacity in and about the Atlanta area. And they believe to have cohabitated in some form or fashion at a location that neither one of them owns. Yeah, we know what those locations are. Now, sources close to both the special prosecutor and DA Fani have confirmed that they've had an ongoing personal personal and romantic relationship during the divorce proceedings of Wade. Homewrecker, man. So we also know, I think Fani told us originally when people were asking questions about this, that he was her mentor, right? Like at law school or something like that. Let's see. Now they say there's no evidence that Fani was authorized to use these funds to hire Wade. In fact, in July 2021, Willis went to the board to get COVID money, and she told the board that it was in a crisis. And so the board gave her money. And we've confirmed that Willis knows how to do this. Okay, she got the money. She knows how to do it. She goes to the board. I need money. They say, okay, here you go. But we know through records requests and other direct inquiries that Willis did not go through that process. Co-defendants counsel also spoke with Fulton County Commissioner, who verified Willis never got approval for Wade to be appointed or paid. Where's that money? You know, what's she doing with that? That money's just being like repurposed over to her Wade. Now, in addition, undersigned counsel has been unable to find any evidence that Willis has ever disclosed the personal nature of her relationship to Wade to the BOC, the board, prior to contracting with Wade as a special prosecutor. So he didn't file any oath as required under the law. The loyalty oath was not filed until September 27th, just a few months ago, after Wade had already appeared and participated in a bunch of stuff. And so he did not file his oath of office. And so therefore, he is not valid, not under a valid employment contract with Willis, just not valid. Now, despite this, Wade signed numerous subpoenas as a special prosecutor. He used the power of the state to command appearance. Wade obtained orders to compel attendance of out-of-state witnesses, other people who were asserting privilege and immunity. He negotiated immunity deals and all this stuff. Now, he said he was a duly authorized special prosecutor, but he wasn't. We know that he's also somebody who has no experience. Willis contracted with Wade to be a special prosecutor. He's a private law firm doing hourly work. Now, based on the personal knowledge of Wade, an undersigned counsel is aware of, so she knows him from practicing with him, we are unable to find any history of Wade ever having prosecuted a single felony trial. All right, not even a RICO case, but not even a single felony trial, much less at the rate Willis is paying him. So he's like a brand new first-year prosecutor. Now, based on his current experience and based on his current appointment guidelines, Mr. Wade would not be qualified to serve as defense counsel in this RICO case. Why? He has not tried at least 2 criminal trials of similar offenses. In addition, even if he was a public defender, he'd be getting $140 an hour, not $250 or whatever he's billing at. Now, his initial contract with Willis commenced in November 2021, and the only copy of this contract is a copy of an addendum that was not signed until March 1st. Wade was also going to be reimbursed for a bunch of money. Now, one day after the initial contract commenced, Wade filed his complaint for divorce. Apparently, Willis and Wade had already begun a personal romantic relationship with each other. Willis's initial contract with Wade does not identify any hourly rate about what he was supposed to be paid, but during this year-long period, however, Wade got $300,000 and $3,500 for travel. 1 year, $300,000 a year. That's $100,000 more than Fani's making. Wade's invoices for his services in connection with the case were broken down as follows. Here, right, every month, 15 grand. November, 15. December, 15 grand. 15 grand. That's interesting. It's all the same number. It's like, he's like, that's weird. He's billing hourly. It's the same hours every month. Or is that the retainer making adjustments for it? So February 22, 9,000. Whoa, March was expensive. 32,000, 33,000. Those are good months. 33,000 here, 34,000, 34,000, same, 35,000, 35,000. Now the first 3 invoices were paid out of the confiscated funds and seized property fund. So Fani's just like taking all that money from so-called criminals and then giving it to her Wade. Now the second contract between Willis and Wade, she's like, man, you're doing a great job. I want to re-up you. Let's go on another cruise again, honey. Provided payment for Wade at $250 per hour, 600 hours cap, $150,000 during this contract period. That was signed later, and Wade got $173,000 out of that. So more money than he was supposed to. All the invoices are attached. Now, based on the documents, it appears that Willis and Wade did not have an executed contract at any time, while Wade was involved with presenting the case to the grand jury. So more invoices. December 22, November 22, 25,000, 23,000. You can see big numbers. 20,000, 34, 36,000, 35,000. A third contract also came in. That's for 212,000. Wade got over $500,000 for his work with the quote anti-corruption unit. Now they also say Wade's law partner, Chris Campbell, also entered into agreements with Willis'd to provide legal services. He was also tasked with other things. Campbell also got a bunch of money. Now Wade is a partner at Wade and Campbell Law Firm, and a recent mailer indicated that they're advertising as law partners. Yeah, and we also saw that they sent a solicitation to a defendant from one of those entities. But there's no corporations registered here, but there are separate, so she's looking into his, LLCs and what he's done here. But total, a lot of money. There is no contract for May 15th to June 12th on file, but if the prior amounts hold true, Wade's total compensation under the contract contracts likely to amount to more than $1 million. Not bad. Now, the billing to date does not include the amount paid to his partners as well. Here it says Willis, she just got $129,000. You know, it's just not fair. Down with the patriarchy, She was forced to pay him all this money. The patriarchy's so bad. The Judicial Council of Georgia recently recommended to the Supreme Court justices that they get an increase. So the Supreme Court justices are also making $223,000 a year, but Wade's getting a lot more than that. And what's fun is Wade's income has been used to travel with Willis to vacation destinations, and they've even brought their family with them too, because they got to make sure their kids get along. Now, Wade's former partner, Terrence Bradley, also entered into agreements with Willis to provide legal services, and so she's just, dishing out funds to her cronies. Prior to Bradley and Wade, they dissolved their law firm. Bradley got $74,000. Then after dissolving their association, Bradley no longer got any money from them. They say, all that being said, this indictment is now void. Why? Georgia law says you got to be able to appoint somebody appropriately. Yes, she has discretion, but she has not recused herself from this prosecution, and the law says if you've got a potential conflict of interest, you got to do that. The statute says you also got to go to the board and get permission. But Wade had no legal authority to act since Willis never got a permission to even contract with the guy. It appears evident that Willis did not obtain prior approval to even have him as a special prosecutor. There's no documentation, there's no other evidence in the public records that show anything was approved for Wade. And Fulton County indicated that no records exist. And so Willis also did not obtain their board approval because he was outside counsel, saying since Willis knew how to obtain this permission, she didn't. Why? Placed in the context of her actions as outlined here, the answer is obvious. She knew the board would ask her about her relationship with Wade. She knew they would ask about his experience. Both questions she did not want to answer. Now, with her power as the DA, perhaps she thought no one would notice or no one would care, or she would ask for forgiveness. In any event, she acted without lawful governing authority. And since Willis never had any authority from Fulton County to contract with Wade, Wade in kind has no authority to investigate this case or to ever seek an indictment. Therefore, this indictment is fatally defective and it must be dismissed. Wade also never submitted his oath of office. He signed a bunch of subpoenas, and he says, now, Mr. Roman understands that this issue was raised by other defendants in prior filings, and this is another particular argument. Okay, the oath of office, so that came up. The judge said, I heard the oath of office thing. That's okay. They fixed it. It was a clerical thing. This is much bigger. Now, Mr. Roman reasserts this oath of office thing because it's got a bunch of new facts here. The oath was not just a clerical error. It was a cover-up attempt. So please reconsider it. Saying in this case, Wade was not a member of the DA staff, was not sworn and duly authorized. He was present because Willis alone had authorized him to be present, but he had no legal authority to actually do any of this. Willis had to follow the law. Wade, therefore, was a mere spectator, but he participated and he influenced the grand jury, and so you gotta go. There are sound reasons why all prosecutors must be sworn and authorized, because they have to minister justice. Yeah, right. And not simply that of an advocate. They swear an oath, right? Higher standards, so-called. But in practice, that's not true at all. They say Wade asserted these same powers. He was acting as a prosecutor. He was using prosecutorial powers. And so Roman is charged with conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, right? Roman, they said, you are impersonating a public officer, which is exactly what Wade is doing. It could be argued that Willis conspired with Wade to falsely hold Wade out as the duly appointed special prosecutor and misled witnesses, misled grand jurors, misled court staff, and even defense counsel. It could be further argued they did it for pecuniary gain and that Wade got paid from taxpayer funds. So what they're charging him with is literally what Fani has done. Saying same thing with count 11. They're saying that Mr. Roman committed forgery and fraud. Well, it could be argued that Willis conspired with Wade to defraud Wade's oath of office and all of the checks that were made out and delivered to the clerk. And they could say that they did it for pecuniary gain. Now, we also know that they had a romantic relationship. You're supposed to be prosecuted by a disinterested prosecutor, and prosecutors can be disqualified if they're not impartial. Now, Willis and Wade are operating under a conflict of interest, and so they should be disqualified. Willis breached her duties. She violated her oath of office. In her oath, she says that she'll prosecute people impartially, without fear, favor, or affection, unless it's with Nathan. So help me God. Well, she violated that. Willis has benefited substantially from this. He's paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to prosecute this case for her, and then he turns around and takes her on vacations. All of it paid and authorized solely by Willis, her own little slush fund. Now, this has happened even though Willis has not sought or got any permission to do this. She's got a bunch of prosecutors who have salaries, who with more experience, who could have prosecuted this case, but instead, on the day before Wade filed for divorce, course, she entered into an agreement with Wade far above what anyone else was being paid. Wade was the single biggest expenditure for her office in 2 years, 2022 and 2023. Cost the most amount of money for Fani. Now, based on the foregoing, they say Willis and Wade should be disqualified, and their offices got to go too. The rules of professional conduct merit as much. Saying Fulton County Code of Laws also declare that this is a problem. Any conflicts of interest must be brought out. It prohibits an officer like Willis from indirectly receiving a gift or anything of value, like a cruise. Here it's clear that she violated Fulton County laws and she got herself right into the middle of a conflict of interest. She gave Wade lucrative contracts and it shatters the public integrity and the faith in her prosecution, causing an irreparable conflict of interest for her and undermining the confidence in the ability to bring this case to justice. Now, the meaning of all of this is simple. They say Willis violated her own county's ethical standards, was involved in a conflict of interest, had a personal and financial interest in this appointment, never disclosed her relationship, and never even got their permission. As the Fulton County laws make clear, under those circumstances, there was a conflict of interest. She should have promptly submitted a written letter. She did not make any proper disclosures, and based on this, we now respect that their firms be disqualified. Bunch more statutory rules here saying, look at all these. She violated those rules, violated those rules. Those are the rules, and here, they both violated these, and it violates Mr. Roman's right to a fair trial. Both have acquired a financial interest in Roman's conviction. Wade has personally and financially benefited from his relationship with Willis. He gets paid $1 million. He's then going to continue to prosecute this case based on his financial motives. Oh, we're definitely going to trial on that. I'm billing $250 an hour. So probably more than that for trial. We'll see. So he has acquired a unique and personal interest in the continued prosecution, and he's going to keep going as long as possible. Willis has also created a system where she gets personal benefits. While she's not paying herself directly, she's just laundering the money through Wade, and then he takes her on cruises. Now, it says it's worth noting, though not the focus of the motion, that Willis has been on national media outlets discussing this case. If it continues, Mr. Roman's going to have no choice but to file a motion to prevent her from making statements. There's no doubt that some of her statements are designed to condemn Mr. Roman before the trial begins, and she's trying to poison the jury pool. But Fani is not directly paying herself, but nonetheless reaps the rewards after Wade gets that money. And both suffer and labor under conflicts of interest that you cannot deny now. And so, due to the receipt of their county money, Wade also have a proprietary interest in the prosecution, and they're all benefiting in violation of the rules. Now, Willis, as we near the end of this, is also someone who may have violated RICO and U.S. code. Willis failed to disclose her conflict of interest. Honest services fraud is a crime under federal law. Includes public sector honest service fraud when public officials fail to disclose a conflict of interest. We could also get her under RICO. Now, as such, 2 direct deposits and 2 mailed checks into Wade's account are 2 transmissions in the execution of honest services fraud that confirm a pattern of racketeering activity. Now, the irony that Willis and Wade engaged in a pattern of racketeering that could be charged as a federal RICO case is not lost here. Indeed, prosecutors have highly favored using this law, much like Georgia, because it's vague enough to be applied to corrupt public officials. Now, if government officials makes an official decision, then that office has been defrauded. And as explained in these cases, this is why it's a problem for Fani. Now, it is not our intention here to find ways to prosecute the prosecutor, but it must be brought to the attention of the court that the actions of the 2 lead DAs in this case, arguably, what they've done, arguably constitutes crimes under federal law. Judge, dismiss the indictment against Mr. Roman. Disqualify Willis and Wade and their offices from proceeding in this any further. Signed by Ashley Merchant, Georgia. So, great filing. Lot of juiciness here. Now, let me poke around and show you what else is in this document. We're taking a look at the exhibits. Fulton County DA's office, Fani Willis. Looks like a slideshow presentation. 584 murder defendants indicted, right? That's a nice slideshow. We've got some other documents here. Here, this is a resolution authorizing Fulton County to do some things. And we've got more documents. Here are some contract assignments, professional services documents. Here are some invoices. Oh, so here's what Wade is sending in. Invoice number 1. Law offices of Nathan Wade, the anti-corruption special prosecutor who's taken his corrupt DA on cruises. Prepared cases for pretrial. Meeting with the unit, 4 hours, $1,000. Look at this one. Prepared cases for pretrial on 11/5. Man, this dude pulled an all-nighter, didn't he? 24 hours at $250 $5 a $6,000 day, which is incredible. So he literally worked and billed every single stinking minute. He didn't go pee-pee, not even once, for 24 hours. That's curious. That doesn't seem possible, does it? So what we noticed there is that is fraudulent billing. And you know who caught that one? Our friend Technofog. Here's what Technofog nailed for us. He says, Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is like Superman. He can just work all the time. He is alleged to have been having an affair, but now apparently he also worked 24 hours on January 5th straight. Well, January 5th, that was an important day in history. The day before January 6th, and that was 2021, so that none of that had happened yet. January 5th, 2021, is that right? Yeah, it was. Oh, 11/5. Okay, so this violates Georgia false statements. That is a felony. Okay, so our friend Technofog is pointing this out. Under Georgia law, anyone who makes a false or fraudulent statement or makes any false writing, including of a state agency or government, is liable for a felony, according to Technofog. And so, my goodness, you see it right there in writing, a criminal violation from Nathan Wade. Now, it's also interesting. You see some of these other invoices. That's 15 grand right there. Case summaries, $2,000. Read and review case summaries, 8 hours, $250. So he's reading all day. This guy is just like rounding 8 hours. I woke up, had a cup of coffee, and I read and I reviewed case summaries for 8 hours. Good day, $2,000, and just bills her. Now, a lot of this stuff, okay, more meetings, discuss Georgia, 15 grand on that one. All of these various different 15 grands, and you can just see, a lot of money, lot of different invoices. But there was one in particular that stood out, $32,000 on that one. That's pretty expensive. But in one of these invoices, we see that there are travels for out-of-state interviews, and they're meeting with certain people all over the place. Witness interviews, South Georgia, drafting and researching stuff. Here, Uber and public transportation, Delta Airlines, flying to the Hyatt, Thirsty Lion Gastropub. They're eating smash burger there, so, having some hamburgers and so on. But all of this keeps going. Hank's Oyster Bars, right? Likes oysters. Got it. Now, in one of these meetings, take a look at this. This one is invoice number 8, and it is from the May time period of 2022. So the team meetings, he bills $4,000 for that. 2 days, 2 full 8-hour days. Then he's got a strategic plan, meeting with the judge, investigation, witnesses, and interviews. Then he's meeting with opposing counsel about some testimony. And then look at this. He travels to Athens on May 23rd, 2022, and he has a conference with White House Counsel. See that? A conference with White House Counsel. That's Joe Biden, right? You mean the Joe Biden White House? Huh. That's strange, because they told us that there was no conversations between Fani's office and the White House. She said this multiple times. I bring my own cases. I do what I want. I don't call anybody. Like, we've played her multiple times saying that. I take no instruction. I have no idea what they're doing. No idea. Obviously, they're meeting with them. So they actually had a full conference with the White House, and it wasn't a short phone call. It was 8 hours at $2,000. 8 hours with the White House Counsel, orchestrating this whole damn thing. So also motions, and that's what he just billed in there. Now, due to billing restrictions, this invoice has been significantly truncated. Okay, so in other words, I have a lot more that I would say about what I did, but I can't tell you here because it's all secret and whatever. So he has a conference with White House Counsel, and apparently they landed in Athens, like they went over to Athens to go hang out with him and to collude and to conspire to take out their actual opponent, which of course they are doing right now. So you can see they're about as corrupt as it gets. Everything that we thought about them is true. We knew for a long time that they were incompetent, didn't realize they were this corrupt as well. Now, they'll respond. We'll see what Fani says about this. We'll see what Nathan Wade says about this, but it's in the documents, right? And I think the defense team has made a nice presentation on this. And my guess is they've got receipts. All right, here's Fani and Nathan signing off on this document, renewing their contract. And you see some of the billable hours, 50 hours a month here, 100 hours in January, 150 grand on that, 600 hours total, 250 per hour for her cruise partner. And here's another set of bills. Now, here's another one, an interview with DC and the White House. That's interesting. Another one. Look at this one, invoice number 14. So they went back to the White House in November, another 8 hours there. And I would guess that a lot of this stuff is related to that. A January 6th meeting and an attorney conference. Okay, who are these people? Are they having meetings with Liz Cheney? Probably. So interview with DC and the White House, another one. More collusion with Joe Biden. Okay, so Joe Biden has his hands and his disgusting fingers in everything. All of these are being orchestrated by them. So it is on display. Even Nathan Wade is billing for it. Talking with the White House. What for? This is a local prosecution. You investigated everything on your own, didn't you? So why are you meeting meeting with the White House Counsel, interview with DC and the White House. Very curious events there. And so it's as corrupt as it ever could possibly be. This is Mike Roman, the person who is the defendant who filed this motion. And so I want to leave you with this on this segment. Mike Roman posted this on X. Says, Ashley Merchant, my attorney in Georgia, filed a motion to dismiss the indictment and a motion to disqualify. And it was a good one. Now, please continue to help me fight. And this is from Give, Send, Go. And I do believe that it is official just because it's now up to $47,000. And the funds of this campaign, they appear to be going to Harmeet Dillon and the Dillon Law Group. And so Dillon Law Group's doing some good stuff. And apparently she's working with Ashley. And yesterday, Ashley also submitted some filing. So some good stuff over there. And of course, we're going to be continuing to follow this case. This is blowing the lid off the whole Fani RICO case that's out there. And so we'll be here continuing to cover this, my friends. Thank you for supporting Mike Roman. Thanks for giving some love over to lawyer Ashley Merchant, who are doing great work. This is not an easy motion to file. I'll just say that. Okay, like the DA is a very powerful position. The county attorney is a very powerful position, and they've got control over a lot of cops and law enforcement and all sorts of stuff. So this is a difficult motion to file. She, might be facing personal consequences as a result of that in this location based on, the extent of Fani's power. And so she's going to need our support. We're going to be here giving it to him. And Mike Roman and lawyer Ashley Merchant are going to carry on exposing the corruption in Big Fani's courtroom. And so we're going to be here continuing to cover this, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. And don't forget to check out our website, robertgovea.com, where you can go over, you can check out, sign up for our daily newsletter. This is what the website looks like. We also have our daily show reports. When you click this reports button, you can see everything that we talk about gets summarized and assembled right here. So you're always up to date. And when you sign up for the newsletter by clicking this button right here, you're going to get all those stories summarized and sent directly to your inbox. And it's a great way to share the show with your friends and family, forward those on so that they know what is happening now that Big Fani got Willis'd by her own Wade. Whew. Thank you for subscribing. See you back here on the next one.